A single AI model just wiped $600 billion off Nvidia's market cap in one trading day. Not through some catastrophic failure or scandal, but because a Chinese startup quietly uploaded something to the internet that Silicon Valley never saw coming. This wasn't announced with flashy keynotes or million-dollar marketing campaigns. No billionaire CEOs were making bold predictions on stage. Instead, DeepSeek simply dropped its V3.1 model on Hugging Face with zero fanfare, and within hours, the entire AI industry realized the game had fundamentally changed. The numbers that started circulating online seemed almost impossible to believe. 71.6% score on the Aider programming benchmark, edging past Claude Opus 4's performance while running at 68 times lower cost. That meant coding tasks that previously cost $70 could now be accomplished for just $1. For enterprises running thousands of AI operations daily, this wasn't just an improvement. It was a complete paradigm shift that made their current budgets look absurd. What made this release even more shocking was its sheer scale and capability. DeepSeek VI 3.1 packed 685 billion parameters with a 128,000 token context window, giving it the capacity to process massive amounts of information without breaking a sweat. To put that in perspective, it could handle roughly 1/6 of A Dream of Red Mansions, one of China's longest literary classics, all at once. Developers immediately began stress testing the model by throwing enormous text at it, and the results were both accurate and lightning fast. Can you guess which major tech company's stock lost $600 billion in a single day because of this release? The answer reveals just how threatened traditional AI powerhouses felt by this unexpected challenger. But the real breakthrough wasn't just in raw performance, it was in the architecture itself. Community researchers digging into the model's code discovered something remarkable: 4 hidden tokens that revealed DeepSeek's secret capabilities. The tokens Search Begin and Search End indicated real-time web search functionality, while Think and End Think showed the model could reason privately before responding. This meant V3.1 wasn't just processing information, it was actually thinking through problems internally, then presenting polished answers to users. This hybrid thinking architecture solved a problem that had plagued AI development for years. Previous attempts at creating models that could chat, reason, and code typically resulted in systems that were mediocre across all functions. DeepSeek V3.1 was the first to make these different modes work seamlessly together, essentially creating one model that could replace multiple specialized systems. The separate R1 reasoning model was gone. Everything now defaulted to this unified V3.1 system. The timing of this release wasn't coincidental. OpenAI had just unveiled GPT-5, and Anthropic had launched Claude 4, both positioned as cutting-edge frontier models locked behind expensive APIs with premium pricing structures. DeepSeek chose that exact moment to quietly upload their comparable system as a completely free download. While American companies were guarding their AI advances like precious intellectual property, DeepSeek was treating frontier intelligence as public infrastructure. This approach aligned perfectly with China's broader national strategy. Their 14th five-year plan, established back in 2020, explicitly favored open-source AI development. The goal was to accelerate global adoption by giving away powerful models even if it meant sacrificing short-term profits. Recent trends on Hugging Face proved this strategy was working. Chinese AI releases increasingly dominated the platform's most popular downloads, with V3.1 shooting straight into the top 5 within hours of release. The developer community's reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Victor Mustar, Hugging Face's head of product, declared that open source AI is at its peak, pointing directly at releases like DeepSeek V3.1. On Reddit, users noticed that outputs were longer and more detailed than previous versions. Benchmarks looked stronger than expected, and the model was trending worldwide before DeepSeek even published an official model card. However, the celebration didn't last long before darker implications emerged. US lawmakers and intelligence officials began raising serious concerns about DeepSeek's true nature and intentions. A bipartisan House committee investigation revealed troubling connections between DeepSeek and Chinese state-linked entities, including ties to military research labs and the Zhejiang Lab, which plays a crucial role in advancing China's technological capabilities. What do you think would happen if every AI model became free and open source tomorrow? The answer might be more complex and dangerous than most people realize. Controversy deepened when cybersecurity researchers discovered that DeepSeek was allegedly collecting vast amounts of American user data and transmitting it back to Chinese servers through infrastructure connected to China Mobile, a company the US government had previously designated as a Chinese military asset and banned from operating in America since 2019. Reports suggested the app was designed to siphon data back to the People's Republic of China while creating security vulnerabilities vulnerabilities for its users. Even more explosive were allegations that DeepSeek VI 3.1 had been built using stolen American technology. The House investigation claimed the model relied on advanced Nvidia chips that were subject to strict U.S. export controls, including A100s, H800s, and H100s that should never have reached Chinese hands. Intelligence reports suggested these chips had been acquired through illegal smuggling networks, with one operation running through Singapore being busted shortly after congressional hearings raised alarms about chip trafficking. Testing revealed another disturbing pattern. DeepSeek was programmed to censor information according to Chinese Communist Party directives. When asked about the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests, the model responded with, "Sorry, that's beyond my current scope. Let's talk about something else." Questions about Taiwan's sovereignty would start generating responses acknowledging the complex and contested nature of the issue before the text would suddenly disappear and be replaced with the same deflection message. As renowned theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking once warned, success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. Unfortunately, it might also be the last, unless we learn how to avoid the risks. His words seem particularly prescient when considering an AI system that combines frontier capabilities with potential surveillance and censorship functions. The geopolitical implications extended far beyond technical specifications. While American companies maintained strict control over their most advanced systems through expensive API access and usage restrictions, DeepSeek was making comparable capabilities freely available for download, modification, and deployment anywhere in the world. This philosophical divide reflected broader differences in how the two superpowers approached technological development and global influence. The economic disruption was immediate and brutal for competitors. AI development relied on massive investments in data centers, research talent, and compliance infrastructure, costs that had to be recouped through high API fees. DeepSeek's strategy flipped this model completely upside down. Away advanced capabilities, they accelerated adoption while forcing closed competitors to justify their premium pricing structures. Dynamic mirrored earlier disruptions in the software industry, where open-source alternatives like Linux eventually displaced proprietary solutions across entire markets. The free version became good enough. Paid options looked increasingly difficult to justify. Enterprise decision-makers were already asking themselves uncomfortable questions. Pay premium rates for closed models when frontier-level open alternatives were readily available. Barriers that might have slowed adoption were rapidly disappearing. Full V3.1 model weighed in at around 700 gigabytes for most people to run locally. Providers were already preparing hosted versions that would remove infrastructure constraints almost immediately. Democratization of frontier AI, whether American companies liked it or not. Physicist Michio Kaku's vision of the future seemed more relevant than ever. 2100, our destiny is to become like the gods we once worshipped and feared. Tools will not be magic wands and potions, but of computers, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence technology, most of all, the quantum theory. V3.1 represented a significant step toward that reality. Perhaps not in the way most people had envisioned. These also shattered long-held assumptions about AI development economics. The original DeepSeek V3 had been unveiled earlier in the year. The company revealed their training costs were just $5.6 million, using about 2,000 slower Nvidia chips. Fear seemed impossible in an industry where people assumed hundreds of millions were required to train frontier systems. This alone had wiped $600 billion off Nvidia's market cap in a single trading session. Investors to reconsider the entire AI hardware ecosystem. It confirms the writing was on the wall. Exclusivity was disappearing. Open-source models could match performance while costing a fraction to operate. The proposition of closed systems would have to come from something entirely different. Integrations, its partnerships, specialized applications that couldn't be easily replicated. Certain irony buried in the phrase artificial intelligence itself. What had been artificial wasn't the intelligence, it was the scarcity. To these powerful systems had been locked behind corporate paywalls and geopolitical restrictions, creating artificial barriers that served business models rather than human progress. V3.1 proved those walls weren't technologically necessary. It's convenient for maintaining market control. Rapid ascent to over 80,000 community members demonstrated technical merit and national origin or corporate backing, driving adoption decisions among developers worldwide. Grassroots momentum suggested the future of AI might be determined more by open collaboration, closed competition between tech giants. Researchers like Taxes had predicted. DeepSeek was consolidating its separate model lines into a single flagship product. Version 3.1, that prediction had become reality. Applications extended far beyond benchmarks and technical specifications. This time, smaller teams were proving they could compete at the frontier without spending hundreds of millions of dollars. Down the myth, the largest American laboratories could build these systems. These companies and even individual developers now had access to tools that could rival the best AI systems in the world. Democratization represented both an unprecedented opportunity, found challenge for established players, built their strategies around maintaining technological advantages through resource concentration, access control. DeepSeek VI 3.1 essentially reset expectations for what open source AI could achieve. 685 billion parameters, 28 tokens of context, ARC scores surpassing Claude Opus 4, and operational costs that made closed models look financially obsolete had been dropped online without warning or fanfare. Impact reverberated through markets, governments, and research communities worldwide. Represented only the foundation for DeepSeek's upcoming V4 release, disruption might still be ahead. He had demonstrated that frontier AI capabilities could be developed efficiently, openly, accessible globally, regardless of what established players preferred. Doing so, they had fundamentally altered the trajectory of artificial intelligence development, forced the entire industry to confront a new reality. Technological superiority maintained through scarcity alone. It was no longer whether open source AI could compete with closed systems. DeepSeek v3.1 had definitively answered that. The question was whether the future of artificial intelligence, shaped by those who sought to control it, was willing to set it free.